please rise for a moment of I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ready? Yep. Roll call.
Smith.
Here.
Weiss. Here. Addy.
Here.
Elder.
Here.
Leibold.
Here.
Reese. Here. Sleek.
Here.
Okay, council has a copy of the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any changes or additions to the minutes? No, then they'll stand as they are. Council also has a copy of tonight's agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Madam President, I have a couple agenda items I'd like to add.
Okay,
First, I'd like to make a motion to enter executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 121.22 G4, preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment, with no council business to transpire thereafter.
Second.
anybody have any comments?
He seconded. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wondered if anybody had any comments. Okay, so John Elder makes the motion and Chris Leibel seconds. Roll call.
Weiss.
Yes.
Addy.
Yes.
Elder.
Yes.
Leibold.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Sleek.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
I'd like to make another motion, Madam President.
Okay,
A motion to enter executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 121.22 G1 to consider discipline of a public employee or official or the investigation of charges and complaints against a public employee with no council business to transpire thereafter.
Second.
any questions or comments on that one?
Will this be going on immediately or at the end of after?
No, after.
the council meeting? Okay.
With no business transpire there.
Okay.
Okay, John Elder makes the motion, Chris Leibel seconds. Roll call.
Addy.
Yes.
Elder.
Yes.
Leibold.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Sleek.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes.
Okay, well, we have a lot on the agenda tonight, so we'll get started right away.
Third reading of ordinance amending chapter 1503 local provisions to include sections 1503.10 definitions and 1503.11 inspection and maintenance responsibilities for the city of Fremont and declaring an emergency.
Move to adopt.
I'll second.
Chris Leibel moves to adopt, John Elder seconds. Any comments, questions? Roll call.
Elder.
Yes.
Leibold.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Sleek.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes.
Addy.
Yes.
Okay, next.
Third reading of an ordinance to make appropriations in the amount of $66,132,900.00 for the expenses and expenditures for the 2023 fiscal year, January 1st through December 31st, for the city of Fremont, state of Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Angie Reese moves to adopt, Chris Leibel seconds. Any comments or questions?
Just so you know, last meeting we had talked about amending that budget amount, but the auditor had sent an email, I think earlier today, saying that'd be unnecessary.
Yeah, we'll just take care of it with the other stuff that we'll clean up in like February, March. We do that
Like we
second
always do.
ordinance, like we always do. I'm just gonna incorporate it into that, make it a little cleaner, a little easier.
Okay, good. Roll call.
Leibold.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Sleek.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes.
Addy.
Yes.
Elder.
Yes.
Approved.
First reading of an ordinance to authorize the expenditure and direct the Safety Service Director to enter into a contract with Midwest Compost Incorporated for an amount of $790 per truckload for disposal of sludge from the Water Reclamation Center and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
Yes.
we've had this cleaning of the sludge removal, whatever, going on every year. And it's something that we have to do, so I move to suspend Rule 4.
I second it.
Angie Reese moves to suspend Rule 4. Christine Lee seconds. Are there any comments or questions on the suspension of Rule 4? Roll call.
Reese,
Yes.
Sleek,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Addie,
Yes.
Elder,
Yes.
Lightfoot.
Yes. Move to adopt.
Second.
Chris Lightfoot moves to adopt. Christine Lee seconds. Any further questions?
I do have a question.
Okay.
Didn't we just do something with them a couple of meetings ago with Midwest Compost?
We discussed the expense of it, how it has increased over the years.
We also probably had a warrant for payment resolution where they had a bill where we didn't purchase order in time.
So that was separate.
Yeah, separate.
Thank you.
Sure. Roll call.
Sleek,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Addie,
Yes.
Elder,
Yes.
Lightfoot.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Approved.
First reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor and safety service director to grant pay increase to non-union employees of the city of Fremont and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, I would ask council to suspend Rule 4. I'm probably going to repeat that over the next several agenda items. This is to get the non-union pay scale adjusted for the start of the new year. So that'd be the reason for the suspension, so we can get those new rates in as of January 1st. The old ordinance falls in line with the same amount of time that the union contracts go. So all the union contracts are expiring at the end of this year. They were 3-year contracts, so the previous non-union pay scale ordinance was also 3 years. So this will adjust the unions, or the non-union pay scale for the next 3 years. As stated in the ordinance, the first year is going to be a 4% increase. The second and third year is going to be 3% increases. And so that's what the city administration, myself, the mayor, Ken Frost, has come up with and looking to recommend for city council to pass for the full-time, non-union employees.
Pardon?
No, I started
I move to suspend Rule 4.
I second it.
Angie Reese moves to suspend Rule 4. Jim Sleep seconds. Any questions on the suspension of Rule 4? Roll call.
Smith,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Addie,
Yes.
Elder,
Yes.
Lightfoot.
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Sleek.
Yes.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Justin Smith moves to adopt. Chris Leibold seconds. Any further comments or questions on this? Roll call.
Weiss,
Yes.
Addie,
Yes.
Elder,
Yes.
Lightfoot.
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Sleek,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
First reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor and safety, oh, I did that. Okay. First reading of an ordinance amending appropriations within General Fund 101, Municipal Income Tax Fund 201, Public Recreation Fund 211, Probation Service Fund 232, DARE Fund 256, SCIP Fund 461, Water Operating Fund 510, Sewer Operating Fund 570, RL Wash Trust Fund 701, Unclaimed Monies Fund 714, and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, Council, this is our annual clean up the budget ordinance at the end of the year, where I go through and kind of see where we might have a few adjustments. Earlier this week, I emailed Council a letter detailing all the different adjustments. I'll go through some of the highlights. The main one in the general fund is actually a decrease of about $675,000, and that is for 2 reasons. One was my mistake, and 2 was just a change in course. So if you remember last budget, we presented to council that we were going to transfer money into our debt service fund to pay off the Garrison Street
note. We were going to pay it off this past year. And then throughout the year, we updated council when we were bringing a new note ordinance and said we decided to shift gears primarily due to the industrial park and advice from bond counsel and our municipal advisors that rolling that note over for Garrison for another year and using that cash on hand that we were going to use to pay the note off to acquire the property for the industrial park was a better use of our cash on hand, because if we need to issue any debt for infrastructure related to the industrial park, it fits the same purpose as the infrastructure related to Garrison Street. So then if that needed to get rolled into a bond issue, bond counsel recommended all the same purposes of the underlying debt being the same works better than having that land acquisition in there. So this just cleans up the budget because we didn't need to transfer that $500,000, so I'm just reducing the budget by that amount because we're just not going to transfer it. The other amount is a reduction of $175,000, and then there's a corresponding increase in the income tax fund, because earlier this year I brought a transfer ordinance from the municipal income tax fund into the capital improvement fund for $175,000, which was related to the design cost with North 5th Street. So the transfer ordinance was correct, but the budget adjustment, I actually adjusted the budget in the general fund instead of the income tax fund. So I'm just reducing that, and then there's another side in the ordinance that increases it in the income tax fund. Zoning had a little bit of a bump, not a huge bump, but just to explain, we had a pretty large residential public nuisance not too long ago, and so it was such a large residence that it was more than what we typically spend on a public nuisance demolition, and so that caused that line item to go a little over budget. The Parks Department had a significant increase needed because of the design work that's been going on with the amphitheater. The SCIP, that's the OWDA grant that we get occasionally for street projects or water line projects. This one, we talked about it last budget, and we did not budget for Cherry Street because we weren't sure if we were going to get final approval for our OPWC grant application. So we left it out, and then as we got further into the year, OPWC did grant that application, so we're bumping the budget by that $175,000 grant. Water treatment, this is kind of a carryover of what we talked about earlier this year and what we talked about during the budget hearing. We've got an adjustment for about $100,000. $50,000 of it is for chemicals. $11,000 is for an EPA license fee for the facility, and $33,000 of it is related to additional or increased costs related to sludge hauling. My note to council in my letter was that we started the year out with a chemical budget of just shy of $800,000. Now we're just going to be just north of $1 million, which is right where we ended up, or where we will end up with the budget for next year. So hopefully that at least stays consistent. Sludge hauling, we started the year out with a $70,000 budget, and this increase will bring our sludge hauling budget up to $103,000. In the water and the sewer, we had a big refund. We had a customer that has the ability to ACH their payment, and they basically added a zero, and they paid $80,000 for the utility bill. It didn't mean to pay $80,000, so we had to refund roughly $80,000 back to them. And so we didn't budget for $40,000 and $40,000 in the water and sewer because we didn't anticipate that happening. So just a little hiccup. The customer just inadvertently paid the wrong dollar amount, and so obviously wanted that refund process as soon as we can. The increase in the Walsh Trust, this is related to the amphitheater. Throughout the amphitheater project and the discussion related to the amphitheater, the mayor and I felt comfortable, and I've kind of been building the Walsh Trust Fund up for this purpose over the last several years, where we committed to contribute $100,000 out of the Walsh Trust towards the amphitheater. So this budget adjustment allows for that to happen. And initially, those Walsh Trust dollars are getting used towards the design of the amphitheater. Even after that contribution towards the project, the Walsh Trust Fund is still going to have a principal balance of about $700,000, which I like to keep right at around $700,000 so that it earns a considerable amount of interest. So that way we can let that interest build up for a couple of years, and then maybe there's a project like this that meets the criteria of what the Walsh Trust is for, and then we can do something else. So that's the main highlights related to the kind of the year-end budget cleanup. Any questions on any of those? Cool. Then I would just again ask council if we could suspend Rule 4 and get that passed by the
I'd
end of
make
the
a
year.
motion to suspend. Rule 4.
Justin Smith makes a motion. 4. Jim Sleek seconds. Are there any questions on the suspension of Rule 4? Roll call.
Addie,
Yes.
Elder,
Yes.
Rybel.
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Sleek,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes. I move to adopt.
Second.
Angie Reese moves to adopt. Chris Leibert seconds. Any further discussion? Any questions? Roll call.
Elder,
Yes.
Rybel.
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Sleek,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes.
Addie.
Yep.
Approved.
I got it. First reading of an ordinance amending the Personnel Policy and Procedure Manual of the City of Fremont to include changes to Section 4.01 and declaring an emergency. All you.
So this one is related to a little bit of a throwback. Our personnel policy manual has always included a section for longevity. For employees that have been here for a while, our pay scale, you have 3 steps at your pay grade, and then you're stepped out. And so some employees could, the steps are primarily merit-based, and so they can get stepped out relatively early in their career, and then they get kind of stuck there. And so we've had a lot of discussion, even here in council chambers, about what we've tried to do to spur on recruitment of new employees with recognizing prior service credit for vacation and other incentives to try and get people to want to work here. And so the administration also talked on the other side that we do have a good group of loyal employees that have been here for a while, and we should probably be looking at acknowledging and doing something for those employees as well. So through the discussions, we decided to bring back longevity for employees that have been here longer than 15 years. It's got 3 levels to it. If you've been here for 15 years, it's just a bump of 20 cents per hour. If you've been here for 20 years, it's a quarter. And then if you've been here 30 years, it's, or 25, I'm sorry, it's 30 cents. The old policy manual, for some reason, had 26 and 29 cents for 20 and 25 years. No idea why they didn't just round it a nickel. And then it also had a caveat where it was only applicable to employees hired on or before 1982. So our last employee that actually was receiving longevity was Steve Lamalley, because he was hired roughly about the year I was born. And so when he retired, he was the last employee that actually had longevity on the books. But like I said, we decided that it would be a good thing to bring back and acknowledge a number of our employees that have worked here for a while and maybe have been stepped out. And so just to kind of acknowledge and recognize that. So we decided to amend the policy manual. That section 4.01 is that section that had the longevity in it. And so basically I just regurgitated it in the Exhibit A and just struck out the, for employees hired on or before January 1st, 1982, and then cleaned up the goofy 26 to 25 and 29 to 30 cents. So I would ask that we suspend Rule 4, if there's any questions, obviously, just so we can make it effective January 1st. That way when we're updating all the different rates, that gets incorporated right away.
I move to suspend Rule 4.
I second it.
I had a question.
Okay.
Before, about how many people do we have
Um,
kind of fit those
Sure,
levels?
that's a good question. I believe, because this would only apply to non-union, the police and the fire already have built into their union contracts some longevity because they have steps that if you've been an officer for so many years, then when you get to another year plateau, you get a bump. So they've got some longevity built in, same thing on the fire. AFSCME has the same longevity language that's in our personnel policy manual. So it has the kind of the sunset clause on the 1982 thing. And so I believe non-union, I believe it's less than 20 people. It's probably only like 10 or 12 because we've had such high turnover. But we do have a solid number of employees. A few people here in City Hall that have been here for actually north of 20 years. And then we've got some department heads that have been here for a while, and maybe a couple foremen, and maybe the operators are all in the union. So probably 12 to 15 if I had to guess.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, anybody else?
Any other questions?
Okay, Jim Sleek made a motion to suspend Rule 4, and Angie Reese seconded the motion. For any comments on the suspension of Rule 4 or questions? Roll call.
Libo?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Sleek?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Yes.
Elder?
Yes. Move to adopt?
Second?
Ron Elder moves to adopt. Did you say? Chris Libo seconds. Any further discussion or questions on this? Roll call.
Reese?
Yes.
Sleek?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Addie?
Yes.
Elder?
Yes.
Libo?
Yes, approved.
First reading of an ordinance authorizing fund transfers in the amount of $16,397,895.00 for the fiscal year 2022 for the City of Fremont, State of Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
So, Madam President, this goes along with what I was talking about in the budget adjustment, where we decided not to transfer that money into the debt service fund to pay off the Garrison note. So at the beginning of the year, before we had really started to talk about exactly how we were going to finance the industrial park, we were moving forward with paying off the note, and so I presented to council a transfer ordinance that included the authorization to transfer that $500,000 out of the general fund and that $500,000 out of the income tax fund. So now that we've gotten to this point, I don't want to move that money around because per the Ohio Revised Code, if I move it, it's stuck there, and I can't move it back into the capital improvement fund for the industrial park or move it into the, a different fund to pay for a different project or something like that. It's stuck there, and so that we might as well pay off the Garrison note. So I talked to the law director, and we just decided it would be easiest if we present a new ordinance that had all the annual transfers with the correct amounts, not having those $500,000 transfers included in there. And then after we pass this ordinance, then I would ask a member of council to make a motion to rescind ordinance number 2022-4098. And that would rescind the previous ordinance that was the transfer authorization. So it just cleans up that $500,000 out of the general fund and $500,000 out of the income tax fund, since we didn't go that route with the Garrison Street note payoff.
Mr. Brown,
Yep,
you want to Rule 4 on that?
definitely. I have to correct
And
this
then you
before
have
the
to
end of the year.
rescind that. Then you mentioned about rescinding.
The
So is
previous-
it all right if I just say so moved?
I don't think so.
Yeah, we can just handle this ordinance first, and then once it's,
And then
whatever
we
you
get
guys do to
motion
it,
made, yeah.
then we can make a, if we can make a motion to, if this passes.
Yeah.
Make a
Rescind the other one.
motion.
Yeah, don't rescind it unless you pass it.
Okay, that's where I got confused.
Yeah,
Because
You gotta pay.
if we rescind it, it's dead. It's gone.
I got ahead.
yeah. Any other questions? Then I would ask you to suspend Rule 4 so that we can have
I
the
move to
transfer.
suspend.
I'll second.
Angie Reese moves to suspend Rule 4, and I'm not sure who seconded.
Jim?
Jim?
Jim Sleek seconds the motion. Any questions on the suspension of Rule 4? Roll call.
Sleek,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Addie,
Yes.
Oder,
Yes.
Bible.
Yes.
Reese.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Angie Reese moves to adopt. Christine Weiss seconds. Any further discussion on this from anyone? Okay, roll call.
Smith,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Addie,
Yes.
Oder,
Yes.
Bible.
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Sleek.
Madam President, I'd make a motion to rescind, was it a resolution or
Ordinance.
Ordinance 2022/4098.
A second.
Justin Smith makes a motion to rescind 2022-4098 ordinance. And who seconded? Chris?
Jim?
Jim Sleek seconds. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Reese,
Yes.
Addie,
Yes.
Oder,
Yes.
Bible.
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Sleek.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Approved.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on. Okay.
First reading of a resolution authorizing the approval and issuance of a warrant for payment of $13,421.70 to the treasurer of the state of Ohio and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, this is related to the improvements that were done on the Route 6 overpass out by Hines, North 5th Street, going out on Route 6. We did a cooperative project with ODOT, and we've done this pretty much every intersection that we've been redoing. Everybody probably knows that the old traffic light sensor used to be, the big thing to do was to have the metal loop or the magnetic loop in the asphalt so that it detects the car over top. Well, as we've been making intersection improvements, we've gone more to the radar units that are on the traffic arm. And so ODOT was redoing the traffic signals out there, but they only replace what was there, and the loops were there. So if we wanted to upgrade to the radar units, we had to pay for the upgrade. So this was the amount of the upgrade for the radar units on both traffic lights. And so, but at the time, they didn't put a purchase order in for it. I think ODOT gave them a quote of what they thought it was going to be, and I think they were waiting to find out if that was like the final cost. So they waited to put a purchase order in, and then ODOT never got back with us with a final cost because they'd already given us a quote. And so then they just sent us an invoice for our share, and then there was no purchase order out there. So then we got you guys a warrant for payment. So that's what it was, the upgraded radar detection out at the overpass for Route 6. And so I would ask that we suspend Rule 4. ODOT's emailed a couple times while I'm there.
I move to suspend Rule 4.
I'll second.
Angie Reese moves to suspend Rule 4. Christine Weiss seconds. Any questions on the suspension of Rule 4? Roll call.
Addie,
Yes.
Oder,
Yes.
Bible.
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Sleek,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Chris already seconded.
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah.
I didn't hear it either.
The cough covered it up.
Oh.
Sorry.
I
tried to cough when Angie was doing it.
A motion to adopt, and Chris Leibold seconds. Any further questions on this resolution?
I'm curious, why not leave the magnetic as opposed to radar? What's the advantage of either one?
When the weather's crappy, it doesn't work very well. When it gets snowy, icy, slushy, that interferes with the loop being able to detect the traffic, and then it gets stuck and it doesn't cycle through and stuff like that. So yeah, the standards now go into the radar units. It's more reliable, and then if something fails on it, you don't have to rip the road up. You just have to change the unit out that's hanging on the traffic arm, rather than if the loop fails, it's stuck until you redo the road. So yeah, ODOT and a lot of the cities have gone to kind of the standard of the radar units. We started doing it when we replaced the intersection all the way up like at Wood Street several years ago, and then south of Front and State, and then out on Dickinson. All the intersections that we've been upgrading have been having the radar units.
I have one more question or a comment. It's like we have to pay this. It's been done, but why wouldn't this have been brought up earlier? I'm just saying the 13,000, was that in the original bid?
It wasn't really a bid because it wasn't a city bid because it was ODOT's project. But when ODOT gave us notice of how much our share was going to be, the engineering department should have put purchase orders as soon as they had that quote or that notice, and they didn't. I don't know why they didn't. I'm assuming they thought maybe it was going to change once the project got going, but they just failed to put the purchase order in. So.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Today I was history.
Roll call?
Elder,
Yes.
Leibold?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Sleek?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes. Approved.
First reading of an ordinance amending the Personnel Policy and Procedure Manual of the City of Fremont to include changes to Section 5.04 and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, this is a little bit of a cleanup in the Policy and Procedure Manual, primarily due to us discussing things with the different unions, especially AFSCME, because so much of our contract with AFSCME mirrors the Policy and Procedure Manual and back and forth, probably more than any of the other unions. So in the vacation section, it used to state, or it currently states that it has to be taken, vacation has to be taken in minimum increments of 4 hours. Well, that means the minimum increment is 4 hours. So if somebody wanted to take 6 hours, they could take it because it's more than the minimum. So you're not taking 2. But the problem is that everything is in days. So when they want to take the rest of their vacation, if they take 6, they've got 2 on the books. When they want to take 2, now it's less than 4. Where the intention, and that's one issue, and the other issue is it says a minimum of 4 hours. Where the intention is really a half a day or a full day. Most office staff here in City Hall only work 7-hour days. So their half day is really 3.5 hours, which is less than the minimum. So I think it just, the intention was always half day or full day increments for vacation, and so we're working on cleaning it up with AFSCME, and then so we're just bringing it to council to clean it up in the Policy and Procedure Manual as well. It's just cleaning up what current practice is. As long as the department heads in my office catches a vacation leave request in a different increment other than 4 or 8 hours, we typically send it back and say no. But we just don't want to get challenged on it, and then all of a sudden, well, technically that's not what we meant, but you're probably right, and so it just cleans it up. The other couple areas while we were reviewing it in my office was we don't do paper leave requests anymore. All of our HR is all automated. All the departments, all the employees can do their time off requests electronically. And the policy referenced a couple places of in written, a written vacation leave form in a couple spots. So we just generically changed it to electronic time off request, because that's what we call it in our current system. And we wanted to keep it generic enough that if we happen to change payroll systems, the description was still going to be accurate. It's an electronic time off request. So we took the opportunity to clean that up in a couple spots as well. So I would ask that we suspend Rule 4 again, just so we can clean it up and as soon as possible and kind of make it effective with the new year.
In order to keep Mr. Grawl happy, Madam President, I would like to move to suspend Rule 4.
Angie Reese.
Ask your question.
I do. Okay, go ahead, I'll ask you after.
It doesn't go away.
Okay, Angie Reese makes a motion to suspend Rule 4, John Elder seconds. Any questions on the suspension of Rule 4? Okay, roll call.
Wyland?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Sweet?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
Addie?
Yes.
Elder?
Yes.
Good up.
Hold on.
Well, I'm not going to do roll call until after your question.
I'll second.
So for your full-time people that you have, if if they've been there less than 2 years, they have no vacation time, correct? Or 1 year.
1 year.
So do they go unpaid, I'm assuming, if they need time off?
So typically there's a few different ways that we can help them out. A couple of the ways is that they have the ability to earn comp time if they work overtime. So I know in my office I've had a couple new people fairly recently, and so like this year's a bad year because City Hall's not closed for half a day on New Year's or on Christmas Eve. But for an example, Christmas Eve, City Hall closes at noon, but it's not a holiday. So employees don't get a half a day off. If they want to take the second half of the day off, they have to take leave, which typically everybody does because the building's closed, but they could still do work. But typically they do. So what we've typically done is that we've allowed people to earn comp time by working over and getting some more stuff done, or they can request non-paid time off.
So like on Christmas Eve, they don't have to use vacation, they could just say, we're not gonna get paid.
Correct. Right. We've had that happen occasionally, or we've had somebody that when they come in, they already had a vacation on the books, but then this opportunity opened up, they had a cruise booked, and then this opportunity opened up, they came, and so during the interview process, we kind of flushed that out, and they kind of like, well, I have a week off, but you guys don't offer vacation until I've been here a year. Is there a problem with me still taking that week off? And we typically say no, but it's going to have to be unpaid, or the amount of your week that you haven't earned comp time for is going to have to be unpaid. So some combination of that. There's not a lot of opportunity for the non-union people to kind of earn comp time, but the department heads typically try to work with new hires to kind of allow them a little bit of time.
Okay.
And they get to use, and they get sick leave immediately, so it's just vacation, sick leave they start earning immediately, so
Okay.
it's not like they don't have any leave. Yep, no problem.
Is that it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, roll call.
Reese?
Yes.
Sleek?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
Addie?
Yes.
Elder?
Yes.
Wyland?
Yes.
Approved. We'll move on to committee reports now. Economic Development Committee, Jim Sleek.
Thank you, Madam President. I have nothing at this time. I know Mr. Gross and I have got plans to meet for lunch here, so it says turn to buy. So we'll catch up then. That's all.
Streets and Utilities, Denny Addy.
Nothing at this time, Madam President.
Okay, Laws, Rules, and Ordinances, John Elder.
Yes, Madam President. A note from the zoning board. There's one of the terms of one of the members of the Board of Appeals is up. That means it's open for anyone who wants to apply, including the person who's currently serving. If you're interested in serving on the Board of Zoning Appeals, applications are at the zoning department and are due by December 31st, 2022. That's all I have then, Madam President.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Parks and Recreation, Justin Smith.
Madam President, I have nothing this evening, thank you.
Citizen Service Committee, Angie Reese.
Madam President, thank you. Police department is doing good, and the fire department is really doing good because they've got the Christmas tree all lit up, and everybody has commented on how pretty it looks. So, wishing the fire department, the police department a good and happy holiday. That is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Community Partnership Committee, Christine Weiss.
I have nothing this evening, thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Finance and Labor, Chris Leibold.
Nothing tonight, Madam President.
Okay. I see our Executive Director of Downtown Fremont is missing, so Sean, you want to speak on her behalf?
Yeah, I have a couple of extra things for New Year's Eve. Obviously, December 31st is our big New Year's Eve celebration in downtown. Lots of sponsors, lots of activities going on. I have some small cards here if you want to take a couple, pass them around. And I also have, just for reference, I also have schedule of events that are going on. So that was one of the questions that the public had was what's actually going on when. And so to clarify a few things, we do have a main stage which is outside. And so we have 3 different events going on at that. At 8 o'clock, we have Rick Smith Jr., who's a illusionist, a magician, card throwing expert. He's on from 8 to 9. Then at 9 o'clock, we have an Elvis impersonator that's gonna be on stage. And then from 10 o'clock until 1 a.m., we are going to ring in the new year with Old School. So that will be on the main stage. And then the interactive games are also outside, spread out throughout Front Street. They start at 8 o'clock and they go till, I believe it's midnight. That's axe throwing, zip line, mechanical bull, soccer darts, baseball home run derby, a football quarterback challenge, Connect 4 basketball, and a full court press basketball challenge. There will also be some Vegas type street performers that are going on at around that time. So most of them start at 8 p.m. So we have stilt walkers at 8 p.m. and we have a mirror suit man who's also walking around at 8 p.m. and then at 9 p.m. The showgirls will show up and be around downtown as well.
Can Elvis marry anybody?
What's that?
Can Elvis marry anybody?
I have no idea.
Ask him for a friend. Ask him for a friend.
And then, additionally, for those of you who are familiar with the Ohio State schedule for football, they are actually on at 8 p.m. that night as well, which is throwing a little bit of an interesting thing into everybody's thing. So the nightclub will have them on, Live Edge will have them on, the Garrison will have them on. We'll actually have we're working on getting a viewing area on the beer garden, the outdoor section with the tent and all that stuff. We're going to pump some heat in there, throw some TVs out there, and have that be kind of Buckeye Central, if you will, as well. So if you're worried about missing the game, but you also want to be part of the festivities, don't worry, we've got you covered. All right? Any questions?
It's going to be a fun night.
You're
Yes,
going
it
to shut
is.
the TV off so Paul can't watch.
Michigan's on earlier.
There you
That's right.
go.
So I'm going to kick my feet up.
Ohio State's in the front.
So there's,
That's right, I forgot.
if you guys want some posters of the actual time frames, well, they're sitting up here for you.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
This one?
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, department heads.
Oh, Bob, you are.
I am here, I snuck in late.
Well, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, so I apologize for sneaking in late. I was over at Ross High School. My daughter had a game that was able to watch all at the last minute and sneak over here. I just want to talk to you a couple updates, but really about the industrial park. I know I want to be kind of in close contact with council. And I think as part of the presentation I gave some time ago, this is the timeline regarding the annexation. And when at our next council meeting, January 5th, that will be on the agenda for a first reading. And at that time, I'm going to ask council to suspend Rule 4 and vote on it. And here's why. We got a late start with the annexation because there were some issues back and forth with the legal description and the annexation plat, the wording, and then, you know, we got the pin set, and then we had to go out there and remove the pins. And so it really pushed us back 60 days. And so now we're feeling it now. Because it's not in the city can't apply for grants because it's got to be on property inside the city. And we have to have applied for grants before we secure an end user. That's how grants work. It's supposed to be an incentive to help you out, to attract an end user. And so we're in a little bit of a crunch in that we are getting phone calls on the other end of, hey, when can we make you an offer? When is it available? And so we're having to kind of hold them off. And if I've learned anything from Tom, it's, when the opportunity is there, jump at it. And so we want to kind of remove that hurdle. In addition, the design plans are 95% done. Manick and Smith and Tucker, I think, are working out one last thing. Next week, the design plans are done. And Tucker is putting the bid documents together to go out in January, to set it out to bid in January. And so by doing that, it can kind of put us back on our timeline, and I think there might be an opportunity where spring and summer we could be putting in the infrastructure, and there potentially could be a project there going hand in hand. And so that is the nature of this. And so I think that, so there are a couple people on the other side of, the members of the Fremont Development Corp and different businesses and landowners, because we're in a partnership. Remember the agreement approved between Fremont Development Corp and the county, and they're anxious to get going on this. And so that's kind of the nature and the reason I'm going to ask you to suspend Rule 4 and vote on it, because the next 30 days are really important, some big hurdles we can kind of check off and then move on to the next phase of this. And so I hope you're all here January 5th. I really thank you, because you guys have been incredibly supportive and appreciative of this, and so I just hope you're all here, or at least 6 of you are here, and that you'll be supportive. And if you want to have, and I've already, Justin came up and checked this box today, and Justin and I had a little bit more of a detailed talk about it, and I may be bugging you over the next 3 weeks, and I'll pick up the phone and calling you and see if you have any questions. But that's the update with the industrial park. Does anybody have any questions?
The only question I have, are we going to have our meeting a little earlier, or you'll just incorporate it into our...
Nope, this will be, the regular council meeting at 7 o'clock. This will be on the agenda. A couple have asked, there's 2 other things floating out there. The old Fiesta Salon in front of Oak Harbor, or on Oak Harbor Road in front of the old Kroger's, that's becoming the new Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut is changing how they do things. They're going to more the Marco's or Domino's approach, where it's just pick up or carry out, or delivery or pick up. And so that's just nationwide. And so they're moving into smaller footprint buildings and whatnot. If you ask me what's going to happen with the Pizza Hut building, don't know yet. It is an attractive corner lot, the gas station right there. So I think you could almost see a scenario where the 2 lots potentially could get combined and something built there, because that does seem like it's a pretty busy intersection. Speaking of busy intersections, State Street and Wilson Avenue, the old Lesher Printing. A member of council brought this up to me. There was a crew there a couple days ago, and they were taking windows out. That building is going to be demoed here in a few weeks. They are in there now doing asbestos remediation, and so and I'm just going to tell you, because if you look up on the auditor's website, you'll see who owns it. If you go to the engineer's office and ask for permits on demo and other stuff, you'll see the name on it. Genoa Bank bought that lot. They're demoing it and building a brand new Genoa Bank on that corner. So that's, in fact, you know, you may see demos out there occurring next week. They were supposed to be out there in November starting the demo. Then ironically, I think I said S&S, who's doing it, also got a lot of the contracts for the land bank too. So they've got a lot on their plate right now. And so that's it. I'll stop there as far as...
Can I ask you a question, please?
yes.
You're talking about demos. That old laundromat on East State Street that has been falling apart for I don't know how many years. I'm so happy that that has been knocked down. Is that part of the land bank?
That's still up, isn't it?
That's,
No, they
that
knocked
was-
it down.
No, that
To
was,
take it down.
that was also a shoe repair, if you
Yes,
remember.
but I don't care who knocked it down, whose property.
It was-
It wasn't part of the land
Private,
bank.
private
Call me
owner.
tomorrow, Angie, and I'll get on the auditor's website and
Well,
look.
I was just interested to know if it was part of the land bank, you know, that they were.
Is it knocked down?
Yeah, I didn't know it was knocked down.
It's done as
They just
Not
did
part
it.
of-
did the work, it's probably part of
It's
the
not,
Yeah,
go ahead.
It was one of my niece's properties.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say, it was private.
It's his fault.
Who, is your fault?
It was
By
one of
fire
the niece's
chief?
properties, yes,
It was a nuisance,
was a
that's what I thought, yeah.
yes.
So that was,
Because there are 33 properties in that land bank, 18 of which are in the city, and that doesn't include a handful of demos that have happened. I think we've had 3 or 4 demos that have occurred outside of the 18 properties. So I think if 2.
Two outside of the 18 that were separate public.
Well, we had the 810 and 814 North
Well,
Front Street, and then
I'm just counting mine, not the
okay,
others.
so
Sorry.
you got his,
Sorry
I
about
got
that.
mine. So.
Yeah, so 4, you're
So
correct.
I think outside of the 18 that were in the grant, we had another 4. So in the last, short window of the last couple months, 22 properties that some of, and there's a couple still standing that they're going to get to in the next couple weeks. But
I think that's a great improvement on State Street especially.
I haven't
well,
noticed.
and we were at a meeting with Liddy Mahalik. She's the director of Ohio Development Services Agency, and this has gone over incredibly well. And they're talking about doing another round of this, and so we ought to get more details on another round for this grant in the spring. So I think Chief Albies is already working with the land bank to prepare a list.
Bob, I have a question.
Okay.
Chris wanted to know about the U.S. Space Building on the corner of Arch and State.
A gentleman bought that, and he came because it's in downtown. It had to come before architectural review, and they asked for signs to be approved. And once again, I'm in a weird position because I don't know if they want their business out there, so I'm not really going to say it. But there is something coming there, so I don't necessarily want to steal the private sector's announcement.
It's good news, somebody's announcing
Yeah.
something.
I think they were here and they were,
You know who it is.
yeah. The UBS store's supposed to go in there.
There we go.
There we go, It's supposed to be private.
I think they were standing there talking about it.
Not nosy anymore, I got my answer.
Okay, are you done, Bob?
Didn't you need to know anything else?
Chief Albies, do you have anything tonight?
Just wanted to kind of bring up, we hired 2 new individuals, Mr. David Benson and Mr. Evan Zender. They're about 3 or 4 shifts in. Everybody seems pretty happy with them. I think they're going to be 2 good employees. They're both local, right here from Fremont, so we'd like to see them stick around. As far as fire department goes, like Bob said, we've been working pretty closely with Bob and zoning department here in the city and land bank, and all that year's worth of efforts starting to come to fruition for us. And we're excited and hopeful for a second round so we can continue cleaning up some of the properties that have been left for so long. That's essentially it. We're just buttoning up the year, just like everybody else seems to be, and looking forward to another good year next year. And I want to thank all you for your guys' dedication throughout the year and giving us department heads in the city what we need to kind of keep going. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. We have elected officials next. Jim Melly.
Just wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year.
Paul Grau.
I'd just like to thank council for throughout the year, everything that we've been asking for with ordinances and suspension of Rule 4 and all that stuff. And then obviously, especially tonight, the last meeting's always a little bit more packed on the agenda with trying to clean things up. And so I just thank council for that and would echo the Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and Happy Holidays.
Thank you. Council comments, Jim Sleep.
Just everybody enjoy what they have planned for downtown. I think it's awesome. I'm hoping to get down there and enjoy it. I turned down a New Year's Eve gig, and mainly because our guys were all going somewhere else. But anyways, I think what is planned for our city and downtown, Sean and everybody, Christy, excellent job. So,
there's a lot of sponsors too, so
Yeah.
it helps.
So,
There's a lot of local sponsors involved in that project. So it's every year we're fortunate enough the community comes together and donates to put this event on. I mean it's a fairly sizable budget, as Christy mentioned last time, and so we couldn't downtown wouldn't be able to do that without those sponsors. So
everybody have a safe holiday and enjoy it. I'm glad to be back. Appreciate
We're glad you're back.
all the well wishes.
Okay, Chris Level.
Thank you, Madam President. Just Merry Christmas to everybody, and get your Christmas decorations up if you haven't already.
Over, put mine up. It's too cold.
That's it, Madam President. Thank you.
Justin Smith.
I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. It's an exciting season, and we also be thankful for all the blessings in our lives. I attended the Hayes tree lighting ceremony. I seen President Harford there. That was a very, Christine was there too, so I seen those two, both of them. Very nice event last week. That was a week ago tonight. And I also attended to the Christmas parade. And it was nice to sit and watch a parade and see all the excitement in downtown Fremont. There's always something to do in Fremont. We had a good year in 22, and I wish everybody a great year in 23, and welcome back to Mr. Jim Sleep.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you. Angie Reese.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to make sure that everybody knows what's going on downtown and around this city. We've got so much going on that it's not necessary to even go outside of the city limits to have a good time. We're going to have a wonderful New Year's Eve, I'm sure. Hope the weather is good for us. And I am very happy to see all our councilmen present tonight. Hope it keeps going like that following year. And I think that's all. Thank you, everybody, and have a happy Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. John Elder.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to echo wishing everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and thank you, Bob, for everything you've been doing for the industrial park and business in Fremont. Appreciate it. And Paul, thanks for all your good explanations on budget things and guiding us through these things. We appreciate it. That's all.
Okay, Danny Yadi.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say that I'm impressed with Fremont this year with all the Christmas lights, decorations. We got 3 trees that I counted that are outside. We have the one up in Birchwood Neighborhood Historic Association there at Mayor Meyer Park, and also the one downtown, and the one at the fire department. So they're all looking good, except there's a light string out at the fire department, but I'm sure we'll take care of that. And also just remind people about the courthouse being all lit up. I know they got a lot of sponsors for that too. Pretty cool. And downtown's really, I like the decorations across the street. Kind of reminds me of back when I was growing up, how we always had lights like that, if you remember, across the street.
And they play music down there, Christmas music.
Yeah, so things are looking great. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's to everybody.
Thank you. Christine Weiss.
Everybody said all the things I want to say.
We'll just say ditto.
Ditto, but I'm very thankful for everything that's happened over this past year, and just looking forward to a great 2023, and just wish everybody a great Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
And I go with what Christine said. Ditto. Would you like to speak? Do you have a couple comments?
Yep.
Yeah, you.
Yes,
your
ma'am.
turn. Well,
Please.
it's your turn.
Hi, Josh Courtney. Nice to see you all again. Sorry, I've been a little spread thin, and I'm not completely familiar with the process of the city council yet, or at least the process that I started with the vacation on Autumn Woods. So I thought there were like 30 days in between for a legal notice, and just realized, you know, I was looking through your recent meeting minutes that the second and third reading may have come and gone, action may have taken place, and I'm not familiar. So before I ask if there was any action, I wanted at the second reading to offer any of the members my time and the ability to take a tour of either of the properties, Autumn Woods or the Celery Gardens, or both, either as a group or on an individual basis, and still make that, would like to make that offer available. I'd like to leave a plan here with you tonight, just to kind of spread around or chew on, over the Christmas break, of just basically one of the possibilities for the area, the area that I talked about leaving and not, providing any housing in the back of Autumn Woods. I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas as well, and then. Just a little a history tidbit, if I could. I'd like to congratulate Fremont as well. Everything I've seen just in my short time here, and especially this year, there's been a lot going on, and I can tell that even as with my head buried and all the work we've been doing back there. With all the progress that happens, you kind of look at the original 2 mile square of Fremont, and you can see how it's expanded. And the one area that hasn't is your southwest corner. That southwest corner is the same as apparently it was in about 1795 when it was created. and even though that most of the Celery Gardens is township, that little triangle that juts into the Celery Gardens is city of Fremont, and we hope at some time in the near future to have some type of monument that when we have guests or customers on the site, that we can kind of highlight that history. And we'd certainly like to invite the city to have some type of partnership in that. And certainly we'd take any suggestions. A lot of this is new to us, but we do see the historical significance, not just for that point, but for the area overall. So again, I'll leave this with you when we go, and always open for questions, or like I said, any type of tours out there at your convenience.
And the question I have, and I remember growing up at Celery Gardens, I wasn't familiar they were back to what it was called the day nursery land. I know that I always thought between St. Joe Cemetery and Siler Street, wasn't there celery in there? Was that whole area just a black soil?
So what I understand is the area specifically that you mentioned between St. Joseph and Siler Street was the Celery Gardens, and it extended all the way to where Cleveland Avenue is now, and even beyond. Cleveland Avenue is in effect a dam that was created, and Day Nursery is really the area that Autumn Woods is. And so I've seen one of the older maps in the city that indicates in the late 1700s, early 1800s, Autumn Woods was designated as a brickyard. And the facilities for that brickyard were on, Twin Street and Bush Street, that area there. There was a building and a brick plant production. But then later, everyone now kind of remembers it, or at least those 40 and over remember Day Nursery in the most recent times.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why the black soil was there in that particular area. I'm sure it was flooded at one time.
I'm not a geologist, but all of our research is lets us know that the Celery Gardens was the riverbed of the Sandusky River several thousand years ago. The river's current course, basically where the haunted hydro is, somewhere very close to the haunted hydro, 180-degree turn took place in the river, and then a 90-degree turn into the Celery Gardens. So if you imagine the haunted hydro, there was a loop in the river. It came down Cemetery Street in Ballville. And if you drive down Cemetery Street, you'll see the swell between the cemetery's cliff, and then it turns 90 degrees into the celery gardens. If you've heard of the two possible caves that were in a ravine in Ballville, you'd imagine right where the power of the river turned 90 degrees into the property is where the cave, is where the river managed to eat the cave out of the limestone over time. Now with Autumn Woods, you can see that all of Autumn Woods was actually part of that ancient riverbed as well. So at one time, where Autumn Woods and Day Nursery was, seems to have been riverbed. And when it finally, picked the course it wanted, it followed what I think is Little Creek or Minnow Creek. But that entire area, all the way to Spiegel Grove to the hospital, was all riverbed at one time, or at different times, right?
Yeah, I heard there was caves there along St. Joe's in that area too, which that river front came through there. And hey, I think I'm about ready to maybe get business, start growing celery.
Good luck.
What the heck?
Good luck.
I don't know.
You won't have to worry about any competition.
You're not going to I don't know if anybody's been down around Willard, Ohio, down that way, but there is some farms that are still black soil, and they call it Celeryville, which isn't the official name of it. But I'm done talking.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Kern, I got a question. The building you started out with on Siler,
Yes,
what year was that when you?
1970.
70.
Yeah,
So-
1970.
So
yeah.
was any of that, going on then, or?
No,
Oh, that was
no,
really
that
big.
was, no, that was, yeah, it looks to pretty much the way it did when we were first there today. It still looks pretty much the same. Somebody said that southwest corner
Yeah.
hasn't changed much, and it's true. I mean, Siler Street still looks the same as the first time I saw that building. Yeah.
Jim Dennis, my stepdad, still owns the paint, which
No,
Smith,
that's what I mean,
Smith rents from him,
Yep.
which should be right.
Sure, no, a bunch of work behind that property,
Yeah.
all through the neighbors there.
Yep.
But it looks really good.
I would love to take a tour.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And I don't want to put it on Bob, but I know Bob's got my contact information.
I can put us together.
Thank you.
In that building, yes. Yeah, that was the first production facility that we had, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Is there any member of council that knows they're not going to be here on the 5th? Just okay. All right.
I'll be here.
No. I don't want you, I want you all here. Yeah, because it's like, open the window and you can go through the window.
Do you realize Mother Nature's not gonna necessarily do your wish?
All right.
Just FYI.
You come in here long enough.
We're now going to go into executive session. Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Just one last comment from the public. I just want to thank City Council for, having the courage to really bring into fruition what was 3 or 4 years of planning and then become a 10-year plan, and now to see actual action and actual delivery of many of the things that were thought about. A lot of work went into that. A lot of risk on you guys' part. A lot of things to think about. The industrial park is going to be big for you guys. You're going to be amazed at what that does for the city of Fremont. Just my prediction, but you're going to be shocked at what that does to move the city forward over the next 4 or 5 years. I mean, them are very important things that we're doing. It'll get a lot of play in Columbus. We'll get a lot of help from state officials when you have things like that. You get attention. And so, thank you, and Merry Christmas to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay, now we're going to go into executive session and we won't conduct any further business afterwards.